People, we are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update where we're going to go into the last 24 hours of Tottenham news. We've got some quotes to bring you today. We've got some transfer speculation. So let's get straight into it. Starting off with the transfer speculation, and Le Parisien Sport are reporting that Tottenham are amongst the clubs who have inquired about Ryan Cherki. He can leave Lyon this summer for 22.5 million euros, which is really cheap for a player of that quality. The French League team of the season came out, and obviously it was heavily dominated by PSG players. The team consisted of 9 PSG players and 2 Lyon players, and he was one of them.
He's had a phenomenal season, and I think he's really starting to fulfill his potential. A lot of people are taking an interest in how he's kind of exploded this season, because I think everyone has kind of realised what a talent he is. But I think there's been a few question marks surrounding him, but maybe this season those question marks are being put to bed a bit with how he's performed. So for me, I think he's a highly talented player. I mean, for that price, it's hard to say no. It's hard to turn up your nose at that, because that's, for that kind of quality, you're not getting that quality for that price anywhere. Then again, I guess the question is, why is he so cheap?
It's got a release clause.
Well, there you go. So I think for me, I would love it. I'm sure that for that price there's going to be a lot of competition. But I think he would fit in well at Tottenham. I think he's the kind of player the fans would love. I really do. But it's whether he'd be interested in coming here.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like it's an option this summer, because there's been links again with Eberechi Eze. Nothing serious, just a bit of talk. And him. And Eze would cost, what, best part of 50 million. This guy will cost half of that, less than half of that. I can't see us signing both of them. So would you prefer to sign him for that kind of money, or would you prefer to get an Eze in for like a 50 million?
Would I prefer him or Eze? Probably still Eze. I still love Eze that much, and he's obviously proven all that kind of stuff. But he is quite a lot older. And I guess on that front, you can say Cherki has many more years ahead of him, but maybe Eze is more ready now, which is maybe what we need.
Yeah, it could be a case of, depending if the player wants it or not, but the way Spurs will look at it is that if you don't have the money, the Champions League money coming through, you probably try and do these kind of deals. Whether he wants to come or not is a different story. But if we get Champions League and we've got that money, then you probably want to push the boat out and get someone like an Eberechi Eze. Next up, a journalist called Sebastian Vidal is claiming that Tottenham are making moves for Man City's James Mcatee. City are open to a transfer, and Spurs are looking to capitalise on that. But the competition is tough, with Newcastle, Brighton, Everton, Villa, Palace, Forest and even Bayer Leverkusen all in the race to sign him.
So half the Premier League.
Pretty much, yeah.
I like him as well, Mcatee. I think he's a very underrated player, and I think he's done well when he's given opportunities for Man City, albeit they've been few and far between. I think on the loan spells he's been out on loan, he's Sheffield United, he's been quite good. I think he's a player who you would in terms of what he's shown, it's not as much as maybe like what the players we were talking about before, Cherki and Eze. You'd kind of be hoping that if given more game time, more opportunities, he can kind of take himself to another level. That's kind of the hope. Whereas Cherki and Eze are playing at kind of a different kind of level right now already. So it's a bit more of a risk. But I do like him. I do think he'd probably be interested in coming to Tottenham, given the opportunity. And I think there could be a place in the squad for him. But, I don't think he's right now at the level of the other players we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, he's not on the level with Eze or Cherki as of yet, but whenever I've seen him play, he's had a significant amount of game time towards his last stage of the season. Pep seems to want to really kind of nurture him, bring him through, give him some game time, and I think he's grabbed the chances with both hands, to be honest. He's scoring goals, he's involved in the gameplay, a creative player as well, always seems to be getting on the end of things, whether he's scoring or not. I really like the look of him, to be honest. And if Spurs, if Cherki and Eze are kind of out of our reach and they end up going for other clubs, I would like to see us, go for a player like that.
But he's not that young, is he? Jade, he's like
23,
22, which I'm saying he's young. He's not like a youngster, is my point. Like in terms of the amount of game time he's had up until this point. At 22, you might expect him. Yeah, in the Premier League, you might expect him to have a bit more game time at this age. But obviously, that's because he's come through the City Academy and they've got a chock-a-block for the talent. And you only have to see someone like, Cole Palmer, who was given the opportunity to become a starter at a better team, and how he exploded, like just with that extra game time and that opportunity. So I don't know if Mcatee could do that, but I think he's definitely a player who you feel he's got a lot more to offer.
There's so many top talents that come through Man City that don't like go on to play like a key role for their team. Just look at like Pedro Porro, for example. I know he wasn't part of the academy, but he was there at very young. And there are so many other examples of that, literally so many. Like Man City academies snap up all the best talent from around Europe, and they end up, whether they end up staying at Man City or going on to other places, they
Morgan Rogers.
So many of them. There is just so many examples, seriously. And I think if Man City let this guy go, I think he can flourish elsewhere with significant game time. I really believe that.
But I think they will sell him. I think they'll probably look to get the money, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably. Let's talk about Manor Solomon, as Sasho Tavaleri has says that discussions have already been held between Marseille and Solomon's representatives. Roberto De Zerbi is keen to reunite with the winger he managed at Shakhtar Donetsk, while meanwhile Leeds want to agree a fee of around £15 million, and the report suggests that Spurs want closer to 20 million, with Daniel Levy not willing to budge on his financial demands. He's in a strong negotiating position, as Solomon has 3 years left in his contract and he's a player in demand at the moment. Stunning season for Leeds in the Championship. We all saw that goal he scored on the last day to clinch Leeds the title as well. I think Marseille would be a brilliant move for him.
I agree. Also, obviously, if he stays at Leeds, that's also a good move to get back in the Premier League. It's an opportunity to prove that he can play regularly in Premier League for a team that he's already got rapport with the fans. Clearly they love him. Clearly they're begging for him to stay. I was watching a few videos of Leeds fans talking about him, and they're desperate for Leeds to sign him permanently, and for that deal to be made permanent and him to be a permanent fixture of their team. Like, they've really fallen in love with him. And it's also, considering up until like November time, he wasn't having the best time of it. And I think he's just completely, once he got fully fit, got over those injury problems, because you've got to remember he was out for over a year, or almost a year. So it was obviously going to take time for him to get back to his sharpest, to get back to his best. And as soon as he's done that, he's done exactly what I'd hoped he'd do in the Championship, which was gain confidence and also prove that he's kind of too good for that league. And that's what I was hoping he would do, having moved down. And from that basis, you could even argue there's a pathway for him to stay at Tottenham. But seeing as that we signed him on a free and they're offering 20 million, I think financially it makes more sense probably to sell him and try and reinvest in that area. But I can understand maybe some Spurs fans thinking, is there an opportunity to give him a chance with us, given how good he's been in the Championship, and we did sign him and he never really got a proper opportunity at us, and it's kind of harsh to just sell him at the first opportunity. But I think when it comes to financial reasons, especially if we're not going to be in the Champions League, which it's 50-50 at the moment, makes sense to get over the line, and it obviously helps your case with PSL when you've got that pure profit for 20 million as well. Obviously, Marseille have had a very good season this season in France. For a bit, they were challenging right at the top, but they kind of fell away in terms of a title challenge. But they're going to be playing Champions League next season. De Zerbi's a manager who does get the best out of his attackers. You've seen how players like Greenwood have done this season for Marseille very, very well. So he might be looking at, I think, and thinking, if I could play under De Zerbi, maybe he could take his game to another level potentially. And I guess for Leeds, there's a bit of uncertainty at the moment in terms of who the manager's going to be and that kind of stuff. So maybe that plays into it. But it's a case of him. Does he want to stay at Leeds, potentially be in a relegation battle next season, trying to stay out, but he knows he's at a place where he's loved? Or does he want to try his luck in a foreign league like France under a manager like De Zerbi who could take his game to an extra level? But it's still, you're not going to be in the Premier League, you're going to be in the French league. Yeah, but you will be playing Champions League football as well. So yeah, it's a tough decision for him to make. It's also who stumps up the most money as well. He might only have one option on the table, depending who stumps up the most and gives something that Daniel Levy's willing to accept. It's a shame for me for Solomon, because I feel like if he was at us in these last few months, he would have seen significant game time and he could have made an impact for us. I think he's had such a stunning season. I think he's a good player, and if I had an offer right now for Manor Solomon for 20 million, and you got to remember it's pure profit as well, because we did sign him on a free,
Would I sell him for 20 million? I mean, it all depends on who else you bring in, doesn't it? That's what it comes down to. And if we sell him and bring in like a Tell on a permanent, or skimp out as well just on another youngster, I don't know if it's worth it. But if we do go on and push the boat out and bring in a proper winger that can take us to the next level, then yeah, I probably would. So it all depends on the recruitment and who we look to bring in.
Yeah, I think at just some points you have to know when to sell, and I think this probably would be the right time in my opinion.
Yeah, you say that, but he could come into Spurs and have a really good season next year, and then his value goes up even more. So you just don't know.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these quotes from Sonny. Some nice quotes in here from Sonny. First of all, he's talking about Harry Kane and Kane winning his first trophy of his career. And he says, I texted Kane and we ended up having a video call. He looked really happy, and seeing that made me so happy too. He's a very close friend and teammate who I've achieved many things with. So I felt like seeing him as a I look at him as seeing a family member succeed, and that kind of positive energy and Kane supporting us. I hope Tottenham can achieve great things this season too.
Which is nice. Yeah, obviously, it would be so poetic if Kane and Spurs both break their trophy duck in the same season. It'd be classic, but shame that just Kane couldn't do it here at Tottenham.
Massive shame. And he says, on the club, he reveals why the reason he stayed at Tottenham. And he said, I've said this for many years, the biggest reason I've stayed at Tottenham is because I want to achieve something others haven't. That's why I'm still here, to complete a puzzle. You need every piece, right? I feel like we've put almost all the pieces together, but we've always been missing that one final crucial piece. It feels like I've spent the past 10 years searching for it, and I really hope that this time we can finally complete the puzzle.
Yeah, and that's obviously something that we know Sonny's desperate for, and we know that he said himself he's gearing towards his cup final. He's trying to get himself ready for this cup final because he knows the opportunity that's there, and he, as he's saying, it might not come again. So we know that Sonny is, like, he's been so loyal to Tottenham, and it kind of implies that if he would have won a trophy earlier, he might have left, but he's kind of stayed because he hasn't. But do you reckon that what he's saying there means if we win against United, he's going to leave?
Could very well mean that, because it does feel like, as much as I want Sonny to stay, it does feel like we're coming to the end of a cycle, whether it be like this, the end of this season or the end of next season. I don't think he signs a new contract. We've triggered the extension that will go until the end of next season, but I think that will be it. Like, I can't see him staying any longer, and if he does go and win the trophy this summer, then I feel like he'll probably feel like, look, my job's done here.
But if he doesn't, he might stay for another year to try and win it. Yeah, which is an interesting dichotomy, how to feel about that. But if that is the case anyway...
it's better to go out on a high than go out on a low, you know what I mean? Yeah,
and it's just a shame that Kane didn't feel the same way, that he wanted to stay until he won a trophy. Sonny felt that.
I think Kane obviously was desperate to win a trophy here, but he felt like he couldn't. That's the difference. Sonny just has maybe more higher hopes than Kane about the club, and maybe he's more of a dreamer than Harry Kane.
Well, I'm just saying, I understand that. I'm sure Kane did want to win a trophy, but I'm saying Sonny is saying he decided to stay at Tottenham until he does. And it's just sad that Kane didn't feel the same, or maybe he just felt like it was an impossible job, and he just had to get out of here and go to a bigger club. But so is it fair to say that Sonny loves Tottenham more than Kane?
Is it fair to say Sonny loves Tottenham more than Kane? I mean, it's a difficult one, seeing as Harry Kane grew up an Arsenal fan, probably. And he's talking about the final as well, and he says, every match is special to me and I value each one the same, but this upcoming game feels like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, something that may never come again. That's why I believe I need to put all my focus into it, prepare my body for it, and give it everything I have. I don't want to have any regrets this time, especially for the fans who want this even more than I do. I truly want to give them joy. When I head back to Korea after the season ends, I want to give our Spurs fans and Korean fans the biggest smile I can. That would be the greatest gift I could give. You know what though, like, it does frustrate me a little bit that all the Spurs, like a lot of Spurs players, I've seen a lot of interviews over the past week, and they're all saying like this could be like a once in a lifetime opportunity. And like, for a club like us, who've obviously won European majors before, that shouldn't be the. I know we've been really poor over the past 5 years, but that shouldn't be the kind of narrative at this football club where you get to a Europa League final and that's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
I do agree with that. I agree with what you're saying. I think there's been a number of players that are saying, you get to a final, you don't know how many finals you're going to get to. And like, these are young players saying, a lot of them, I know it's not Son necessarily, obviously, him is...
Brennan Johnson said it yesterday.
Yeah, but there's a few, I think Vicario said it as well. I think Sonny's a different case because obviously this is potentially his last final at Tottenham and this might not come again. And that's genuine. But I think when it comes to players like Vicario, like Brennan, I can't remember who else, but there's probably a sense around the squad if enough players are saying it. And I don't like that kind of mentality, especially when younger players who've got their whole career ahead of them.
Ange said it as well.
Well, Ange was saying that we haven't been in many European finals, which is absolutely true. And obviously we haven't been in, this is the first one since 2019, second one in 40 years.
Yeah.
The last final at all we went in was 2021 under Mason. We haven't been in any final since then, so it's our first final in 4 years. So, I mean, it is true. It's not like we get into finals every year, but it shouldn't be like that. These players should be ambitious enough to think we can compete every year and get into finals every year. And this should just be the start for them rather than something that anything's been leading to, because this shouldn't be a rare occurrence. That shouldn't be their mentality. I completely agree with that. And so it's a bit of a weird one to hear a lot of them say, you don't know how many European finals you're going to be in, and you have to take the opportunity when it comes. But then again, on the flip side, when an opportunity does present yourself and you are in a final, like, there are no guarantees you are going to be in one again. That is true. And so when you are there and the trophy is there to be won, you can't think that next season you're just going to be in another final. Like, you have to have, maybe it is the right mentality to have, like, you don't know when that next final is going to come, so you have to make sure you take this final and you take that trophy, because it is true, especially when you are at Tottenham, you don't know when the next one's going to come. But I don't like that is the mentality, because if it was a City player saying that or Arsenal player or whatever, they wouldn't be saying these things.
Yeah, I mean, to go into a game with that kind of attitude, to play the game like it's your last game ever, give your all like you've never given it before. Obviously, that's what we want, but we still want the players to have the ambition to feel like we win it, we lose it, we're going to be here again in the near future. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd like them to think that for sure. I don't want them to think like if we lose this final, they're never going to get to another one, because that would show a lack of belief, in my opinion. So I agree with that.
Yeah. Eric Dyer has had his say on it as well about
everyone's chiming in.
Tottenham's chances in the Europa League, and he says, I still know a lot of the players and much of the staff, so I'd be incredibly happy for them if they were to go on and win it for the club. So Eric Dyer wishing Spurs good luck for next week. Can't believe it's next week.
I know, it's coming up very, very soon, counting the days. A big up to Eric as well, breaking his trophy duck, and had a wonderful send-off by Bayern Munich, which was great for him and great to see, and lovely message. Let's just hope we get the job done.
Yeah. And last but not least, Kevin Danso's been doing an interview as well. He's talking about Ange Postecoglou's pre-match talks, and he says they're amazing. Honestly, before every game, I've never not felt motivated for a game. He says that after 20 losses.
Well, he's only been here since January. It's good. I mean, it's nice to hear, but I would like to see some motivated performances. That'll be nice.
I wonder if he's the only player that feels like that, because it's just like, how can you say that after such a season that we've had? Unless he only does these motivational talks for the Europa League.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, when you hear him speak, especially we saw that team talk he did after Bodo, I can understand what Danso's saying. And obviously we've seen clips of him before games for other teams, and based on those clips, I can also understand what Danso is saying. But obviously, when you've had so many defeats, especially when a lot of these defeats are because it looks like they're not able to get themselves up for these games in between Europa games, especially, then from that point of view, it's hard to understand what Danso is saying.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, Ange needs to save his best speech of his career for Wednesday, that's for sure. But yeah, that is our Tottenham update for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
Come on, you Spurs.